And then I put green up on the top more.
Oh,
So it would look like it was supposed to be that way.
yeah?
So I could wear it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What did you end up help building airplanes then, or what?
I was an electrical inspector.
Oh, okay.
So mostly harnesses for the airplanes, they'd have a whole bunch of wires in one, and then in the fuse boxes, I think they had about 11 fuse boxes. It was on the B-24 bombers.
Oh, really? Wow.
And we had to wire to Bombay and set up all those fuse boxes. But I didn't do that. I just had to go look at them and check and see that they did it right and stamp it.
What did Uncle Blackie do?
He worked on these little fighter planes that the wings folded back in a plant in Michigan.
Wow.
Until he came back in, was it January of '43? He come back from Michigan, and then in October we got married.
Wow.
And after he come back from Michigan, he come up to St. Paul and got a job in the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company. And he was, we'll call him assistant manager. What he did was inspect tires, everything. We had stamps for sugar and flour and everything, meat. Mm-hmm. You could only buy so much. And the same thing with tires. And you weren't supposed to go over 100 miles from where you lived. If you had a certain rating, and bought new tires. But we used to go down home, which was about 150 miles, I think, from St. Paul down to Walnut Grove, yeah. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he had a big old truck he drove with a rack, like a stock rack on it. Mm-hmm. And he would go around to all the gas stations and everything and inspect the tires they had, whether they were good enough to retread or not. Because if they were worn too bad, why then the cords and stuff, tires weren't that good. Why the cords would break and the retread would just sort of fly off, Mm-hmm. So he'd have to inspect them, be sure their tires were still in good shape. And then the Firestone shop was right in downtown St. Paul, about where Seven Corners is. I don't know if you've ever been there or not. Anyway, those streets that come together, so it's seven corners all in one thing. I never saw it anywhere else. And so he did that until another kid that worked there from Lamberton was married to the wife of the guy that had the hardware store in Lamberton. And so he and can't remember. Oh, Elmer Schultz. Just going to say I couldn't remember it, and I finally did. I've been trying to think of his name for a couple of weeks. But Bob Krinke was father-in-law. Not Bob Krinke. Bob Olson was his father-in-law. And Bob Krinke married his daughter. His son had been killed in an accident or something when he was just real young, so he only had the one daughter left. So he wanted her home. So Elmer and Bob and Bob, both of them, it was Robert Krinke and Bob Olson, So they had the hardware store, and that's where Blackie worked. And then across the street they had the plumbing and heating store. So Elmer was sort of in charge of the plumbing and heating, and Bob in charge of the hardware store, and old Bob was the big shot, the ex-school teacher, so he ran things.
So you would